Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margo Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show on the podcast network itsneworleans.com.
Each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margo and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant community and food community to join us, and we invite them to bring along their own guest, a plus one. We never know who their plus one's going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, a family member, fellow restaurant colleague. And our special guest tonight we're really excited about is the one and only Sarah Edwards. We'll hear more about her in a moment.
And if you're hungry for more Midnight Menu Plus One, then we can dish up here. We have all kinds of extra stuff on our website, itsneworleans.com. You can check out our blog, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or just Google Midnight Menu Plus One, and we can come right up.
Midnight Menu Plus One is brought to us tonight by Wayfare. Wayfare is a fabulous restaurant and bar on Ferret Street uptown. There are lots of places to get great food in New Orleans. You can take it from me. I've eaten at, 800 New Orleans restaurants, but there is no place doing what Wayfare is doing. Chef Kevin White comes from this fine dining background, and he's putting his training and experience and taste into sandwiches. Awesome.
And when you have a chef who's cooked alongside Mario Batali for years making sandwiches for you, well, it's taking sandwiches to a different place. And Wayfare has equally great salads, appetizers, and small plates you can enjoy at the bar.
And you know what I like too? It's cheap. You pay the same or less than the price for a sandwich any other place, and you're getting this amazing taste experience.
Plus, for being a Midnight Menu Plus One listener, they'll give you 10% off.
That's crazy.
It's
basically free to begin with, the price. And then they're going to give you they're going to hand you money when you get there?
10%
Here,
off.
have a sandwich and $10.
Right, your whole bill.
They're not going to stay in business that way, but so we got to hurry up and get over there fast. That is awesome. Wayfare is open 7 days from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays until 10 on weeknights. It's on that new hip part of Ferret Street. Remember to tell them that we sent you for Midnight Menu Plus One for your 10% discount. I mean, it's honestly one of my favorite spots. Hey, Margo, I'm really looking forward to talking to our special guest tonight, Sarah Edwards of St Clair food truck, the pizza truck. But before we do that, let's catch up on your week's culinary adventures. You eat anything worth reporting? Anything happen to you?
Well, I was in Destin, Florida for the week, so I didn't eat anything local.
Uh-huh.
But I had great Thai food in Destin.
Nice.
At a little place in a strip mall.
That's your favorite, isn't it? It seems like Thai food's like your recurring
Well,
theme.
I try and I do like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
cool.
So what about you?
I had a bunch, Okay, so toast. I think they're going to need to put a restraining order on me. At first, they thought I was a good customer. Now I've crossed that line into creepy because I've been there 8 times in the last 3 weeks, but I can't stay away. And I blame my wife partly because she's off from school now and for the summer, and she has fallen crazy head over heels in love with the avocado and egg on the toast or whatever. So really like it. We're big Cara Benson fans too. We love tartine as well.
Well, let me ask you a question though about that. Do you get the same thing every time
no,
you go?
No, I've been getting different things every time. I've only had the same
that's
thing
less
twice.
creepy.
Okay, that's good.
It's less creepy.
No, the creepy part is how I'm just always hanging around. They're wondering, you can't really like it this much. There's other good places to eat. Why are you hanging around? Are you stalking us? Are we going to come out of work, at the end of the shift, and you're going to be in my trunk, that kind of thing. So then also went to Waffle, which was great on Maple Street, which is kind of really unique. I've never been to a place like this. They put all these cool eggs and all kinds of stuff on top of waffles, and then they also do desserty things on top of big Belgian waffles.
So waffles all day, every day.
Every day. I did for dinner with my whole family. We all liked it. And then also the other thing I wanted to mention was we went to Basin seafood place, on Magazine Street. Real competitive area right there, 3,100 block or so. It's a billion fantastic place to eat. So, but it's hung in there. It's done well. And I've been there about a year or two ago, and I went back to this time with some good friends. And I wanted to get a Moscow Mule, but they didn't serve a Moscow Mule. Instead, they served an American Mule. And I like that. I feel like that was a slap in the face to Putin, right? Screw you, Putin. We're going to call it the American Mule because I think it was the same drink.
It's the same drink?
It kind of tastes like that to me, but it was done the right way. It was in the copper cups, which is really cool. And it was, a nice copper cups, and it was really nice. And then I guess my other big event this week is the Wall Street Journal read an article about me. that kind of cool?
Yes,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah, my friend Naomi, she became my friend when she did the story. She's my friend now.
Just because they think you're interesting, or
well,
was it a certain...
it was about our church. It was talking about
Oh,
churches
great.
that reach people in their 20s and 30s. And she wrote a book about mosques and synagogues and churches that are reaching people in their 20s and 30s. And we were the first chapter of her book called Got
Excellent.
Religion. And then she did a follow-up piece in the Wall Street Journal. So that was kind of
So
fun.
is it online as well?
Yeah,
And
and it didn't mention our show, though. Because I think she did the interview like a year and a half ago, and I didn't mention the show back then, and I didn't plug
That's
it.
all right.
But I
We're
mentioned
happy
the movie
for you.
instead, but it was still good. Yeah, maybe some people will find the show that way. Anyway, that's enough of that. We need to get Sarah Edwards. She's way more interesting than me, and she's almost as interesting as you. She is an active artist and a barista and a pedicab operator. And, in her spare time, she also happens to own and operate one of the hottest food trucks this side of glory, which is St Clair's Pizza. So welcome, Sarah Edwards. That means you're supposed to come close to the mic now. She's waiting in the wings.
did
So
he...
good to have
was there something we need to clarify in that introduction? No? It was okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was accurate,
Because we, Ray, we can edit out anything Ray says.
Which
if,
we do
if
every
we're
week.
not, if anyone's not happy with it. But he's never done that
Yeah.
so far. No problems.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So, Sarah, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And I'd like to know a little bit about your background before we get into all those interesting careers that you pursue.
Okay.
I'd like to know a little bit about where you come from and your first foray into the culinary world, or at least your interest in the culinary world.
I was born in Hollywood, California, lived there until I was 3. My parents, who were crazy hippies, and lived in a step van.
What, a step van?
What's a step van?
Step van is like, those bread trucks.
A bread truck?
Yes.
A
thank
bread
you.
truck.
Yes.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sort of, maybe.
Utility van.
Nice.
Yes.
Wait,
Like-
you lived in it too, or just them?
I lived in it as
The three of you, or more
originally.
of you?
So wait a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is that like in the 80s? I know you're young. How,
No, it was in the
six-
70s.
70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now I'm getting the picture.
So
Okay, so the
it's
reason
like a
why they're in the bread
70s, like
truck
a
is
white
because
van?
they're like fleeing from the government. They're like in the weather
Yeah.
underground or something. Like
No.
no,
They're like crazy, like
they just don't want to be tied down.
interesting. They like to be they're very eccentric people. My father did a whole like mural of Godzilla all
Nice.
over it and stuff like that. I mean, they're just very eccentric.
On the side of
hippies.
the truck?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh! Tell me they still have the truck.
they do not.
So y'all traveled around as a family, or did they park it somewhere?
They parked it in a driveway
in Hollywood, California?
in Hollywood, California.
In someone else's driveway, or did
Elizabeth
y'all have a
Taylor's
house,
driveway.
but they just chose to live in
I'm not really sure about that.
Okay.
I was a little too young for that, and I don't know that that's ever been quite clarified. But yeah, so my dad worked for A&M Records. My mother made leather rock and roll clothing. So that's pretty
Sweet.
cool. Yeah.
in the
the truck?
70s?
Not in the truck. Yeah.
So did they do that in this before you were born too? In the
Yes. Yeah, and then once I was born, I guess it was time to, as it happens with most families, get serious. And so we moved to Connecticut, where my father's side of the family is from, and he got into fire sprinkler engineering. A real job. Real job.
Fire sprinkler engineering.
Yes.
Went from working for AMC. And what did he do at AMC?
He was a producer, music producer.
Wow. Any like bands that we still listen to?
Well, he worked like assistant producing or something.
Okay.
He worked with Quincy Jones,
Cool.
producing music. So
are there any stories about crazy stories about? Okay, I'm jumping all over the place. But how did y'all cook in a van? How did they feed you,
I
other
have
than
no idea.
breastfeeding? I mean,
I was breastfed.
By your
I
dad.
know.
How
I
old
know
were
my
you?
mother made my baby food. So
Whoa. What'd you make it out of?
like carrots, and
Oh, wow.
she had like one of those food processors, the little hand wands.
Wow.
But
yeah, I guess you don't have to cook, You don't have to cook a lot of baby food. You can just puree it up.
well, I think you like steam
Yeah.
carrots
Yeah,
and then you
right.
puree
gotta
it
get 'em
up.
soft first.
Sensitive baby.
Yeah, right. She's not going to like just eat marbles or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then we moved to Connecticut. My mom is one of 7. My dad's one of 9. So we have a huge family.
Whoa.
So
A lot of cousins.
yes, lots of cousins, over 20 first cousins.
Wow.
So went to Connecticut, and I grew up there. And I was interested in food at a young age. I was very, before I was able to cook, I wasn't allowed to cook because I was too young, and they were worried about the stove. So the way I got around that was sculpting Play-Doh into like very detail-specific meals.
Oh, cool.
You know? So that I would always make everyone come over and sculpt Play-Doh meals for them.
Did you have a favorite kind of like blue pizza or something, or like?
No, everything had to be the right color.
Oh, really?
Like I mixed
You were a
dough.
stickler
It was
even
like,
at that.
Yeah, it was like, they had to look like what it was supposed to, which is kind of hilarious. But I was very serious about the Play-Doh. Anyways, and then my mom did a lot. Since we have such a huge family, we were always catering all of our family parties. You know, Thanksgiving is like at least 60 people at our house. So,
Whoa.
you know.
And so food was part of the culture of your family.
For sure, yes. Yeah, and making it artistic. Like, my mother would make pies, and we would make them kind of look sculptural, like by cutting out doughs in certain ways and coloring them with food coloring and putting them together. And, you know, everything was always kind of eccentric is the key theme. So it's pretty cool.
So that inspired creativity. They continued creativity into your
Yes.
Connecticut and food. And
Yes.
so when did you go out on your own? And
With food?
yes.
I would say whenever I moved out of the house when I was 17, and I always had, you know, dinner parties and potlucks, and so I've always been in the food service industry. I started working when I was 13 at a little cafe called the Whistle Stop.
What'd you do at 13?
I was just the little counter girl that put the things in the little convectionary oven and, you know, made to go. I was just always very serious about work, you know. Babysat, and like I like to make my own money, and I didn't like to spend it, but I like to the art of making the money was very fun to me. So yeah, so I was a little counter girl at the Whistle Stop. That's where I made my thing. So yeah, so I've been in the food industry for, you know, 20 years.
Oh. So did you continue that in college as well, or?
Not the Whistle Stop, but yes.
What'd you do in college, food-wise?
In college, I did. I mean, I worked for everybody. I did catering, and I bartended, and worked in restaurants, fine dining, you know, hip restaurants, just whatever. I always floated around, you know.
And where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Fairmont University.
Yeah.
It's in West Virginia.
Yeah.
So how did you transition to New Orleans for a living?
I then moved to Portland, Oregon, and I was in Portland, Oregon for 10 years. And I transitioned to New Orleans just because an opportunity had arose here, and I decided to.
Well, how did you
have a
find out
change.
about an opportunity? Did you have friends here, or were you interested in the New Orleans?
Yes, I was very
Scene?
interested in New Orleans, and it seemed like, so in Portland, I had just purchased and rebuilt a vintage trailer. So I was opening a food truck in Portland.
Okay.
And it was going to be farm fresh vegetables and beans and rice and stuff like that. And the idea was that I was going to make all my sauces and salsas and such. But then had an opportunity here and decided that there wasn't many food trucks here. So I thought, well, I'll just come here, restart up what I was already working on, and open up a food truck here.
When was that?
That was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Did you you had purchased a food truck? Did you
No, I purchased a vintage trailer.
vintage trailer?
And then it was a camper trailer.
She's gonna
Okay.
convert it to a food truck.
Yeah, I
You
did
did.
convert
You
it.
did
Yeah.
convert it, okay.
I did convert it, and then I was like days away from getting it legal when the decision was made to move here.
Now, is that the one you have here? No.
No,
Okay.
no. The food truck St Clair is my boyfriend's truck.
Ah, okay. So what'd you do with the other one?
The other one I sold
Okay.
because it was a vintage trailer and traveling cross country with it, just like it swaying back and forth and everything. I don't know. I just decided I could get better money for it there, use that money to come here, buy another vintage trailer, convert it, start all over.
So it was like an investment, and you helped somebody get closer to starting their own business there.
It's
'Cause
true.
you did
Yeah,
a
what's
lot of
become
the
of
hard
it? Is it
work.
being used there for food truck?
I sold it to, as funny as it would be, this pizza place that's out of a gas station in Oregon.
All right.
And they use it for they use it for festivals and stuff like that to sell their pizza out of it, and as kind of like a traveling bar.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it has a good life.
Yes, it does. Looks
And-
very cute in front of the gas station.
So you came here,
Mm-hmm.
and what did you learn about when you came here? Was it as easy a process as Portland? And
Yeah, it definitely, I quickly learned that it was not going to be as easy as I had anticipated to start a food truck. And the reason that there weren't many food trucks here was because it was very difficult to have one. So
What are some of those difficulties?
the difficulties were before they had kind of lifted where food trucks could actually be operating, and you had to, what frustrated me was that you had to, instead of so I came here, I got a vendor's permit, I did all these things to get the ball rolling because I already knew how to build the trailer, I just had to find it. But the difficulties were that there was too many weird clauses that you had. So basically you were going to invest all this money and potentially not be able to sell food that easily
Like, what are the
anyway.
clauses?
you
Like,
cannot-
it can't have 4 wheels. Like,
Well,
what are they-
no, it was more like you had to get your vendor's permit, but you also had to get a catering permit, and you had to operate under catering, and there was all these things I can't really remember right now, but it was the fact that you couldn't actually just be a food truck. You had to be a caterer with a vendor's license, and you couldn't be in most of the city selling. I mean, that was at the point in time where there was basically just the hot dog guys in the French Quarter, and
and you can't stay in a spot for longer than 4 minutes or something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's all flooding back to me. You're right. It was like a couple of hours, and
But did you overcome all those obstacles, or did you?
well, as far as with opening a food truck,
Yeah.
well, I lucked into meeting somebody who had a food truck already.
So you can use their license.
Well, no. They were in the process of getting the food truck legal and
Okay.
building it out and stuff. And so I
Oh.
kind of came when it was like the shell, basically, of the bus. And I got to help in building it up. And then we just had to befriend everybody in the city, and get it legal.
And it is badass looking. I mean, it is great. Our
Thank
listeners
you.
will be looking at pictures of it as they listen to the show, because I'm sure we'll have it posted by then. But it is a really cool looking. It's got to be one of the most unique looking food trucks in the city.
Yeah,
Well, and I
thank
want to
you.
hear
Describe it a
more
little bit.
details about it, but let's. I think your plus one is ready to be introduced.
Yes, I see
and
him
maybe he
seated
can
here.
help you in. So, who is your plus one, and why did you bring him tonight?
Okay. My plus one is Frankie Ostello. He is the creator of St Clair, and he is my boyfriend
All right.
also.
And he's the reason why you're in New Orleans?
He's the reason I stayed in New Orleans.
Stay in New Orleans. All right, that's good. All right.
For sure.
All right, so we love him already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Frankie, for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So you can. Is this part of the story where y'all meet? Or is this a different? Should we get into Frankie's story, or are you?
Sure.
Let's get into whatever you guys want.
Well, how'd you guys meet? You didn't say that already, right? Yeah.
I met Frankie through mutual friends.
All right.
That's how we
Came to
Where
my
met.
were
house
you?
for a party.
I came
All
to
right.
his house for a party.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
All right.
that worked.
And you talked about pizza that night, and now
No.
No,
probably not. That
we
didn't
talked
come
about
up.
bocce and
Bocce. She means
Oh.
bocce ball.
yeah.
Bocce
I'm saying
ball.
it.
She says it properly.
Oh.
Properly.
I
Saying it
trained
properly
her
for
to say
him.
it.
Oh, you like
Yeah,
Italian.
we
You
live in
played-
New
yeah, you
Orleans,
played
though.
bocce.
We don't say nothing properly.
Well,
I mean,
At the bocce club, they do.
Very
have a
serious
bocce
group of
club
guys.
here?
Certainly in Metairie.
Nice.
Yes, it's right off of. It's on Severn, just off of I-10. No one knows it's there,
Huh.
but it is.
Are you the only member? How many, how many members?
No, I'm not. I'm the youngest, but I'm not the only one, and we need more. So that's a little plug for the
Oh,
bocce club.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
Will they have a website?
no,
Facebook group?
no.
Good. It's making me like it
storefront?
even more.
Well, yeah,
Warehouse?
but it's not that good for spreading the game, and they could do a little better as far as advertising and trying to recruit
How
younger
did you find out
people.
about it?
I'm an avid bocce player. I travel around the country playing in tournaments and,
What?
and such.
I did not know that.
Super
Yeah,
hot
that's
quality.
a thing.
That's a thing.
That's
That's a
so
thing.
hot.
That is
I've
actually
never
something I
heard
was hot for.
anything like that before. That is.
Well, let's back up for a second. So how does that, what's the age range of people that compete?
It depends on what region of the country you're talking about. Down here, it is me and then mostly much older people.
Are they all Italian or non-Italians allowed
Not
to do
all
it?
of them are Italian here, which is cool. Most of them are. Most of them are Sicilians. A lot of them are still off the boat, and so they're a bit up there, but they're really great.
Is this
people.
professional? Do you win purses for this and stuff?
You can in a
Have
lot
you
of
won
the
purses
tournaments.
before?
I have.
Wow.
Yeah, and I play with. I actually have a group of guys in Chicago that I play with that we travel around with my buddies that are still playing there. It's a little more fruitful there. There's several clubs in Chicago. California is where the real hotbed of American bocce is right now because a lot of younger
Are there magazines
players.
for this? Is this
Oh,
shown on
yeah.
cable? Is this
No,
like,
no. It was almost an Olympic sport when it was
Come
in
on.
the Beijing Games because it's huge in China and they're very good. In the United States, it's obviously not very big anymore, except for in your small pockets of Italian communities.
Can this get expensive? Are there like special shoes for this? Is there like,
oh, it can get expensive if,
like
if you're
wrist
that
guards?
kind
You
of
wanna
guy.
go, Ray?
Do you have?
I do. I do want to go.
We'll
Like
take you.
the
I would definitely
lawn
take
and
you.
stuff. Is that?
We
have
play
to be
inside,
Inside.
and we play on
what,
courts.
What is the material?
The
for a
material
court?
here is very, very thin carpet, almost like what we're standing on now.
Okay.
No offense to this place.
Well, we
it's
could see a
not-
future use for
Not
this
necessarily
now,
the best material, but it works because there's a different kind of game that they play everywhere else. There's like you can compare it 8-ball to 9-ball pool, where you mark all your shots and you call all your shots. You can't really do that here, so we can only play the 8-ball way, which is okay. But in most other places in the world, they play a much more serious game than everyone's used to playing on the beach or on grass, etc. And it is, I mean, it's very popular in other places, but obviously in Italy, it's like, this bar would have 3 courts.
So is there like a Babe Ruth or a Tony Hawk of the sport? Like the Wayne
Yeah.
Gretzky of bocce?
There is.
It's you, isn't
They're
it?
pretty much gone. I like to think of myself as the Gretzky.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm very good.
He's
You're like a
very good.
national figure in the sport?
No. And plus, I'm Canadian, so if I did play any world championships, I probably would play for the Canucks, but and they win everything.
Yeah, but, so is there like a figurehead guy that was like he's been the famous bocce champion forever?
Not in the States,
Okay.
but in Italy. And
So how did you get inspired to do that? Did you do that as is your family and
yeah,
part of
I
your-
grew up in a very Italian culture. I'm from Toronto originally, and there's the most Italians there anywhere outside of Italy now. So there, it's just a thing you do. Like my grandfather would go to the park and play with all the other nonnus, grandfathers, and eventually, when I was living in Chicago, when I got really serious about it and started playing indoors and playing on courts and learning the real game and that kind of thing, and spending way too much on balls. Although I didn't buy expensive shoes, I still just play with Chuck Taylors because they're just as good. So.
And is there a like? Do you wear a suit or do you wear like?
I would love if it was still that. I would love if our culture was still doing that as society, but no, it's mostly beers and shorts and
Really bad text on T-shirts.
Yeah,
It sounded so glamorous
But
till
I
you
take
said
it very
that.
seriously. It is. Well, no, the tournaments though they're very serious. Nobody messes around. Everyone wears uniforms, all that kind of stuff. The national tournaments, you have to be, fully in uniform and
So
up
does the
to
uniform look
code.
like a soccer jersey I'm picturing? Like what's the
Some
uniform
people
look like?
do.
Okay.
Ours didn't. When I made all our uniforms as well, I made all the T-shirts and our
Nice.
rest of our gear, and we were pretty slick looking compared to everybody else.
So did you have a lot of family support? Like, did you? Because y'all both come from. You said you come from a big Italian family, and you come from a large family.
Mhm.
Is that something when y'all met that you had in common and was?
I think the importance of family is something that we have
Yeah.
in common.
Yeah, I don't get to see my family too much because
Are they all still up in Toronto?
yeah, everyone's in Toronto. My mother still lives in Chicago, but she'll be moving back home soon. I grew up partly in Chicago, and then it's kind of back and forth between Toronto and Chicago before, and then eventually moving here.
So you learned to make pizza there in Chicago?
No, actually, no, I didn't start making pizza. Well, my family's always cooked. I had a great aunt who owned a restaurant on St Clair, actually, which
That's
is
where
the
the name
main
came from.
Italian thoroughfare in Toronto.
got
One
it,
of the
okay.
main Italian thoroughfares. There's two Little Italies there. And so I was always, food was always a thing without even really knowing it. Once I left home, I couldn't get the food I was used to eating, or even source any of the actual ingredients a lot of the time. But eventually I did, and then started learning to cook for myself. And then anytime I went home, I would just study my aunts and my uncles too, and my grandmother, and just watch what they do and learn how to make all this stuff, because eventually...
Now, Toronto Italian, is that like deep dish, like Chicago style, or is that like New York style, or is that like authentic Italian style?
The thing about Toronto is we're only on our second or third generation, because the immigration's a lot younger there, so everything's very authentic, and
okay.
everything is still just how they do it in Italy. And
So
how
it's
you
more
do
like
it here.
Ancora and Dominica in terms of what
Yeah.
it looks like than it is like New York style or like...
Yeah, I mean, you get,
dish.
like, your grandmother will make Sicilian-style pizza or a deeper dish pizza. That's what you eat at home. But then when you go out, it's usually wood-fired
Right.
Napolitana style or classic Italian pizzas, which
Right.
is what we make.
Cool.
So yeah, that all kind of came from that, and I just wanted to keep it going and keep that part of the culture going within me at least, and then bring some of it here, because the Italian, there's a good amount of Italian culture here, but it is removed by at least 110 years, so a lot of it's still very mixed with New Orleans style this and Creole
Yeah,
and
that's
all that
what's
kind of
going to be my
thing.
next question.
Yeah.
So you pay homage to your roots,
Mhm.
and but have you? Do you have local influences, or you're bringing?
Not so much. I really wanted to stay true to what I grew up eating in Toronto, and
Great.
that is, certain kinds of sandwiches, panzerotti, which we are yet to unveil here, but
What's that?
we will. It's,
I grew up Italian. I never heard of that. What's that?
It's
Maybe it's
basically
pronounced different.
it's like a calzone, but
Huh?
the dough is a little bit different. It's sweeter, and it's fried. And you don't have like the ricotta in it or anything that would actually make a classic calzone. It's a little bit different. In Toronto, basically that's fast food. Like there's just panzerotto places, and that's where you go to get huge panzerotti and veal sandwiches, stuff like that. So
So you're making the veal sandwiches in the truck now?
we are going to be hopefully very, very soon.
How do you have room
So
for all
wait,
this
wait.
stuff
Why
in
don't
there?
y'all tell us a little bit about the truck?
Sure.
Too, and like what you. We know where the concept came from, but how long has it been in operation, and what do you?
Well, it took a long time to get started. I bought the truck about 3 years ago. With when I moved back to Louisiana about 3 years ago, there was no really good pizza, and I was like, "This is what I'm doing." That's a very short way of saying all the things that took to get there. But found that truck, bought it, and then started doing it. And it's been taking a long time, but now we're going, and it's supposedly a '67 Chevy short bus.
Huh.
But we're not quite sure about that year. But we think it's right, and it's beautiful. And that was the aesthetic is a big thing for me and us, is having some kind of uniqueness and having that aesthetic continue through everything we do. And we
Now,
think
did y'all
looks really
build it
great.
out? Did you do it yourselves?
Mhm.
And
The man I bought it from was using it as a tailgate truck. He was a big Razorbacks fan. So I bought it in Little Rock, and it was the perfect colors already, red and white, which is Canadian colors.
Cream.
Yeah, it's cream and maroon. Really,
It's 2/3 of the Italian flag too.
that
Yeah.
too. So once you add some basil on the truck, you got all three colors. So yeah, and then we basically gutted it and built that oven, which was not easy.
No.
But the three of us
How'd
managed.
you build the oven?
who's the three of you?
We have another good friend and partner, Aaron Hubbard, and he's originally from Buffalo, so we were just across the lake from each other and never knew. And then he grew up in mostly North Carolina, and then he moved down here, and we met, and he wanted to be part of a food truck, and I just so happened to need somebody to be part of a food truck. And he's great, and we got him, and everything's rolling.
So how do you, this may be a little technical, but building a wood oven sounds complicated and technical, but building it in a confined space, how does that work? How'd y'all do that?
Lots of cuts and scrapes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sand your hands off.
yeah, I had already built one previous to that outside.
An outdoor
yeah.
oven? Okay.
So I was already familiar with how it was needing to go and what we needed to do, and so I was at least familiar with how they're built and that kind of thing. So it was challenging, but
Stone, concrete, wired mesh, stucco.
And it moves.
you
No,
mean the bus?
The bus, yeah.
bus
The bus
moves.
moves, the oven does
Yeah.
not. If it does move, we
You're
got
in
a
trouble.
problem.
Yeah.
It's not humongous, the oven, like comparatively to Ancora or Domenica or anything like that. They have very large ovens, and ours is just a little bit smaller. We can cook two comfortably, which is all you really need because they cook in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So you don't need to really be putting too many in there.
Okay, well, before we get too much further into that, we've come to the part of the show where we do this thing called Off the Menu, and we ask you a couple of questions you wouldn't be asked in culinary school or at a job interview, at least not a job you'd want. So we have to ask you, but before we do that, I have to take a moment to tell you about Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you're traveling, you're working all night on your truck and your schedule keeps you away from home, Petite Pet Care have you covered. They come to your house so you don't have to board your pet or take them to doggy daycare. For loving care when you're not there, go to Petite Pet Care. That's PetitPetCare.com.
That's a tongue twister. I'll tell you what, I don't even have any pets, but I'm drawn to it. Every time hearing you describe it, it's so beautiful, Margo, the way you talk about Petite Pet Care. It really comes from the heart. But, we also want to thank our friends at Wayfair for giving our Midnight Menu Plus One listeners a 10% discount off of everything on their fantastic Wayfair menu. Plus, they have 3-hour happy hours every day from 4 to 7. Chef Kevin White, as you know, is one of our greatest guests ever on the show. He puts fine dining into a sandwich. I don't know how he does it. And the bartenders put all kinds of great stuff into the cocktails. It's just wonderful. And as we
Including
promised, what's that?
I
you have anything to
I
add?
forgot that I had a mic. I was going to say including alcohol, but
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's true. They put alcohol in their cocktails too. We're thankful for that. Okay, so we have our off the menu question ready for the guest.
Do you have a...
I just got my standard one I ask all the time.
All right, well, let me ask Sarah. Now, if you had to lose one sense or the other, would you be willing to give up your sense of smell or your hearing?
smell. Definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. That you didn't have to think about that.
It'd be hard to
No.
make pizzas without smelling them, though.
Yeah.
Well, music. Losing music would be
Worse than losing pizza.
well, yeah. I mean, you could still. Well, I don't know that you could still
can't
taste if you can't smell.
Nope.
But still, I don't think I can give up music. Listening to music.
Because
that-
psychologically, you would know what you're eating. You've.
I guess.
All right, music,
That's a tough
food
one.
over music.
Let's hope she never has
Yeah.
to make that choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah's choice.
And who would want a job where you had to make that choice? I mean, I'd rather not work.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for answering that.
All right. Well, Frankie. All right. Well, one person that you would, if you could choose one person to have a meal with, one-on-one.
Alive?
Yeah, alive. Who you
Then
gonna
I want to
have
hear
a meal
dead.
with?
Oh, really?
If he doesn't say me, we're gonna fight later.
Besides-
kidding.
besides Sarah.
Anybody? Like, can it be
Anybody.
sports?
Yeah, anybody.
Oh man, that is so tough. Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley.
Yeah, Charles Barkley.
Did not see that coming.
Not even
Okay.
Nope.
Why Charles Barkley?
He's the best. He's the funniest, most honest dude out there. I'm a huge sports fan as well, and I grew up a giant Bulls fan, so Michael was like my guy.
Yeah.
And then when you grow up, you're like, Michael Jordan's kind of a jerk. And then Charles is he just seems super interesting. And I don't know, I don't really want to like eat with a chef or anything like that. I don't really care that much. I think it'd just be really cool to hang out with Charles Barkley.
All right.
Yeah.
I would have
Cool.
thought you would have said Tom Waits.
Tom Waits. would be
Yeah,
good
but
too.
I love Tom Waits, and I don't want to not love Tom Waits anymore.
Oh, so if
You
Charles
know?
Barkley turns out to be
yeah,
a total
Tom Waits
bore,
could be. I mean,
Well, I
could
just-
be. It could not. Be
I bet
the
you he eats kind of
most
gross
fun.
too. I could see like lots of stuff stuck in his
You think
teeth and all
so?
that.
I don't know. I bet you he's very, very eloquent when he eats, just like
Yeah.
how he speaks.
I'm
and
just kidding.
sings
No,
and-
we're all big
you
Tom
know.
Waits fans.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that illusion of Waits to be ruined for
Yeah.
me. And
Okay.
I'm not saying it would, but
Your Charles
not
Barkley
risk it.
dream, your childhood dream, would not be ruined, but Tom
No.
Waits is not worth
Yeah.
risking. Got it.
yeah, it would just be sports. I think all the time, sportscasts.
Cool.
Barkley, Gretzky. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, okay, Sarah. I want to get back to your Renaissance woman characteristics. You do a lot besides just make pizza. Like I met you because you're a barista at one of my favorite coffee shops in the world, Hey Cafe in Uptown, and you do that very well. And then you're also, aren't you like a pedicab rider too? Driver?
I have been pedicabbing, yes.
Yeah.
Been known
What's
to
that like?
pedicab.
That's got to be interesting.
It is very interesting. It is never a dull moment in the French Quarter.
Right. Don't you
Lots
make
of-
your own
Isn't
price
that
with that
physically
too?
grueling?
That's got to be a workout.
It
yeah.
can be. Yes, yeah, definitely. Especially like I pedicabbed yesterday during Creole Fest, and it was very hot and sunny, and and people weren't. You have to kind of egg people into getting in your cab, like convince people, charm them to get them in
What are
your
some of
cab.
the things
to
you
give a
say to
ride.
get people in your cab?
I mostly will just like bike beside them slowly and start conversations. Like heckling isn't necessarily my style, but trying to be funny or
Be commenting like what they're wearing,
or
like
noting how tired they're looking, or no, I'm
That's
just
really
kidding.
funny.
But asking them where they're from, just starting conversation. You can normally get somebody in your cab.
Huh.
Now, is it you cannot say anything history-wise, right? In being
Oh,
a
I have heard
pedicab
that.
person,
Yeah, right.
like you can't.
I didn't know
can
that.
you?
You're not really supposed to.
Because then all of a sudden you're a tour guide, and then you're
Right.
in trouble because you're not licensed. Or
I mean,
whatever,
is
right?
that like a
That's
clause?
nuts.
I mean, I don't. Or,
I mean,
This is the Mitch era.
it's something that they kind of like. I mean, you're not supposed to like give history tours or
It's an
anything like
unwritten
that.
rule.
Yeah, it's an unwritten rule. There are things even with pedicabbers, like if you're on the street and one person's in front of you and somebody asks for a ride, you're supposed to kind of give it to the person who's in front of you. Or if everybody, all the pedicabbers, even from different companies, will park at the French market, and whoever was there first kind of gets everybody kind of
So there's
respects
an
each other.
etiquette to
There's
it.
an etiquette to it.
You ever get you ever go to blows with like another pedicab driver? Like just really, there's got to be some cantankerous characters.
No, but I think like
they're
a lot.
all cute and nice.
The
yeah, that's how
prob-
they
every
act. But
pedicab-
when they're with each
Well,
other,
I think the guy just told me they're not allowed to talk because he didn't want to talk to us. Because if you're telling me that,
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no
it's like telling a taxi driver they can't tell you about the city?
Well, it could be maybe there's different cab companies, so maybe their cab company is different. I work for the best cab company.
Which one's
And
that?
who's
Which
that?
is Need a Ride.
Need a ride.
Yeah. So everybody is really, I'm saying the best because it's the one that I
Now,
work
don't
for
you
and
like
I
set
know
your
the
own
most,
price
but-
with that stuff too? It's like negotiable.
Well,
'Cause
not
I never
really.
See on the side of I never see on the side of the pedicab. It never has a
It's
price.
$1 a block per person. Now,
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, some people will. The only problem that pedicabbers have is when people are undercutting the other person, because it kind of like one person will get in the cab and say, "Oh, well, I just had a $7 ride to Cafe Du Monde," when it's really like a $22 ride, because somebody's trying to make money.
Right.
Which I understand, but then it kind of creates confusion. Like legally, it's $1 a block. Like it's actually legally.
Oh, it
A
is.
dollar
And they
a block
post it in
per
the
person.
thing, don't they? They
It's
post it
it's
in the,
printed on the bike, but in a way that you can't quite
I don't
see
know
it.
anything. What am I talking about?
You must have been having a good time when you were taking pedicab rides.
That's what the pedicab rider told me. They told me it was $5 a block. I don't know right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But wow.
They
okay.
saw you coming.
Yeah,
No.
they can tell. Exactly. They can tell. Everybody
Now,
can.
you do that. How? When do you sleep? So, what are the hours and what is the
That's insane. Yeah.
of the truck, the food truck, and then when are you fitting in pedicab rides?
Pedicabbing I do whenever I have extra time or I want to make extra money. Hey Cafe I do on a constant basis, and the food truck I do on a constant basis. I just like to work a lot.
All right, so
So,
share with
I
us
was
a typical
nannying,
day
too.
on the food truck. I want to
Nannying,
know,
too,
like, wait, nanny
Oh, she's still. I don't know. I just.
No, that
was
was it.
interested in
I'm just
nannying.
saying, like
in
I
New
have,
Orleans?
Yeah, I'm just saying I fill my time, like if I have spare time and whatnot, I will choose from one of my jobs.
So you're a workaholic.
I mean, I don't know that I'd call it that, but I
No, you have a-
enjoy working.
You have a great
lot.
work ethic.
Yes, that's what I like
Yeah.
to think.
Well, that's
of
what New
as.
Orleans is known for anyway, right?
Sure.
Great work ethic here. That's really was, it's not surprising.
It's true.
That's
some would
why we
say
love
that.
Basically, you're propping up the whole city.
Yeah.
You're
No.
the only one working.
That's why we love people like
Outsiders,
them who are
because they haven't
choosing
been
to make it
corrupted
their
yet?
home. Because they're
Give her another couple of
excite-
years,
No.
and she'll just be
I can see
drinking
it.
a
They're-
40 on the bench.
I don't know. This is like my 8th year here. I still haven't slept. Just been
Yeah.
working, so I don't know. It's not catching up.
And having some fun in there too, right?
Sure. A little. Yeah.
So what does a day look like on the food truck? And where do you go and what does that look like?
Go ahead.
Well, it starts with Frankie making the dough, which is a pretty long process. There's a lot that goes into that. And that sometimes is, there's preparations that happen we have to at least prepare 24 hours, all of the stuff that we have to get together. We have to go to multiple different places to source all of the high quality foods that we use. And then we, prep, cut, roast, we do some pre-making stuff. Even like then Frankie then builds the fire. That's like a couple-hour process really before we even pull out to leave, and everything has to be packed a certain way. And our main goal, I feel like, is having the highest quality product that's the freshest.
Yeah. It's a lot of running around trying to get that stuff because we're not big enough to have an account with one of the larger distributors and things like that. We can go through other restaurants that are friends of ours and that have offered, and we're going to do that soon. But yeah, it's a lot of work just getting the ingredients, period, and then making those ingredients into delicious foods.
And we hand make everything.
Yeah, everything.
All the
is
sauces,
fresh.
the pestos, the everything.
Yeah, nothing's frozen, nothing ever.
So when you say you hand make the sauce, I mean it's like crushing the tomatoes and like the whole thing?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, essentially.
Right, so you're not getting any canned.
Depends on what sauce we're using for that time.
Right.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's really good canned tomatoes out there. All of our stuff is all of our tomatoes are either from California or Italy.
Right.
Flowers from Italy, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we try to use as fresh as we can and as local as we can for our veggies and our fruits and all that kind of stuff. We just did a big party at Grodat at City Park last week, and that was great. And we used all their own vegetables. It was delicious. Everything was great and went off fantastic.
And was that well attended?
It was a private party.
Oh, okay.
For
Grodette? Or
yeah,
for something
and
else?
for a separate group of architects, actually, because the place is all built out of shipping containers, and it's really neat.
So cool.
Yeah, you guys
So-
should check
Ray,
it out.
have you
There's a
been
whole
out
crew
there?
there.
You got to check
No,
out
I haven't been
Grodette.
out yet.
It's
I
really
I've
cool.
heard about it.
It's
My
really
friend
great thing.
Whitney's involved in that. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be wonderful. Yeah.
It is. It's really nice.
There was around 100 people there.
Yeah.
So
And so y'all catered.
Mhm.
It was like a private event, and
Yeah.
you started preparing at least 24 hours in advance.
Oh.
For that it was
Days.
Okay.
in
Yeah.
advance, a long time, and we were cooking food, up until the time we got there almost.
yeah.
And the way that works is once we're at this party, we put out a bunch of food, and then we just keep making pizzas. And there's other food to eat, and we just keep pushing out pies. So
Margo, I can't believe we haven't asked him yet. Have we? Where is St. Clair's truck generally parked? Like, what are your sort of hangouts that you go to the most? And
on Wednesdays,
I know you're in front of Kingpin sometimes,
yeah,
right?
Kingpin at night from 7 to 11.
On Wednesdays?
That's Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go in reverse. Friday is Miss May's, and we're there around 10, and we
Nice.
stay till late. We don't usually go to sleep till about 6 o'clock in the morning that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's a late crowd at Miss May's too.
Yeah, and a very inebriated one, which makes good pizza eating. Unless they're looking for tacos, then they're just upset.
That's when I fold the pizza in half.
And then
Here's your
during the
tacos.
day, we do Tulane Medical Center on Wednesday.
Okay.
And we're going to start doing that on Fridays as well during the
Oh.
day for lunch. And that's been working out really well because people are not a lot of options over there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great
On
food right
Tulane
around.
and-
There's some.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to insult anybody. It's right there. There's some good food, but I mean, it's not.
Yeah, but they
as
don't
much
stay
as there-
open
yeah,
very
right.
long. So
Yeah.
whether it's good or not,
Right,
you can't
right.
even get it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. And that's nice to be able to go out during the day for us, too.
Cool.
So,
Maybe you get to sleep at night too if you're working during the day.
sometimes, yeah, but we both have other jobs. I mean,
So
you
what
know.
what else are you
All
doing?
three of us have other jobs.
Yeah. I'm an artist. Aaron works at Dominique. And I am the stained glass artist by trade, but I'm starting to transition into other forms of art. So there's a bunch of windows in the city that I've made that no one knows exist, but I did them.
Oh.
So
Neat. Do you have what is your business called? How do you if someone wanted to commission a stained glass window, could they do that, or are you
they could
moving away from that?
I'm never moving away from
Okay.
from making money. But stained glass is a tricky art form, and it's more expensive than a lot of people think. But if they contact us through St. Clair, they can get any of us to do any kind of job they'd like.
Sure.
I don't have a personal. I work for Attenhofer Stained Glass in Metairie
Okay, yeah.
as a freelance artist.
Okay.
And they're the only game in town now, and they're still the best. And any of the really, really big jobs, I usually handle. But now that the business has been starting, I'm trying to keep it more pizza and trying to do other art too. I'd like to concentrate on my own art at some point.
Margo, I can't believe we're out of time. It's been an hour already. Didn't it go by fast?
Darn.
That just stinks. But I wanted to ask you before we ended about Hill Folk. Is that going to
Oh.
restart
Yeah.
soon? That was a lot of people love that place,
Oh,
and then it
thank
sort of
you.
disappeared, and then I found out that was you. Yeah,
Yes.
you made it disappear.
I made it disappear.
He made it disappear. So is it coming back? I don't know how you'd have time though with all the other jobs.
Well, right now I'm actually looking at storefronts, trying to
Tell everybody
decide.
what Hill Folk was, by the way.
Hill Folk was a little store when I moved here from Oregon and decided that I couldn't make a food truck work as easily as I would have liked. I opened up a little shop called Hill Folk, which was a gift shop of all handmade items that I made.
Very creative, funky place.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm actually looking at different storefronts currently. So it might be coming back very shortly, like
All right.
August.
Cool.
let's
August. All right.
Yes.
All right. Well,
we'll
we'll stay
see.
tuned for that. Let us know. We'll keep it. We'll update your entry on our page as well.
Oh,
Our
thank you so
special
much.
guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One was the great Sarah Edwards, and her plus one was Frankie Ostello, equally great, both of St. Clair Food Truck. You can find out more about St Clair Truck by following the links on our website, itsneworleans.com.
And I want to thank y'all very much for joining us on Midnight Menu Plus One, because your time is truly precious. Y'all, I'm sure you have very little free time, so we really appreciate you coming. And we also want to thank Wayfair on Ferret Street, and remind people one last time that if they go in and tell them that they are a fan of Midnight Menu Plus One, they get 10% off. And thanks you also to PetitePetCare.com and the Monkey Hill Bar for having us do the show here.
All right. Well, you're Margo Moss, aren't you? And I'm Ray Canada. You missed a line there.
That's all right. We got the important stuff out. They know I'm Margo.
They know you're Margo, and I'm Ray. Good night. Midnight Menu Plus One is produced by Grant Morris, Margo Moss, and me, Ray Canada. Our technical producer is Chris Keogh. Our director of everything else is Mary Ross.
Thanks to our sponsors who made tonight's show possible. Petite Pet Care, for loving care when you're not there. PetitePetCare.com. Magic Box Toys. Experience the magic at Magic Box Toys on Magazine Street. Tell them you're a Midnight Menu Plus One listener, and they'll give you 10% off of your purchase.
If you'd like to be a sponsor of Midnight Menu Plus One, get in touch with us on our website, itsneworleans.com, or just email sales@itsneworleans.com.
If you'd like to be a guest or suggest a guest for Midnight Menu Plus One, you can do that on our website too. You can find photos from tonight's show, check out our blog, and all sorts of other great stuff on itsneworleans.com, including our other shows Out to Lunch, Happy Hour, Vietnola, True to the Game, and Mindset.
You can hook up with me and Margo anytime by following Midnight Menu Plus One on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
The awesome audio quality of this show is brought to us by Chris Kehoe's Magic and PreSonus Audio. More information about all the wonderful sound recording equipment PreSonus makes is at presonus.com. PRESONUS.com.
Midnight Menu Plus One is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For all of us here at Midnight Menu Plus One, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week around New Orleans Podcast Dining Table. Till then, I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margo Moss. Goodbye.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potting mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.